learn about it very briefly. But I'm talking nonsense here. Welcome to another W Series breakdown. I'm Jacob Young, also the Overreacted Gamer here, and this should be a very, very fun show. And what we're going to talk about, of course, is all of what happened in Barcelona for the W Series race. We are not talking F1. Did not pay attention to Formula 3 or Formula 2 this weekend to see how the American was doing, at least in Formula 2. But I did watch everything for W Series from practice to the race, as well as qualifying, and was very, very impressed with all of that. And, well, I mean, there's some stuff in there that showed why Jamie Chadwick deserves to have a ride in basically something's playing in the background and I don't know what it is, so was that my mistake on that whole thing. Let's just, okay, so that really stinks. Hold up. I'm hearing commercials in the background, and I don't like that as much as the next person. This is messing with me, messing with everybody, I think. I apologize to all of that, for all of that. What is this, 13 minutes in again? What a shock. But let us get into it once more. So yeah, we are, okay, there we go. So, once again, welcome to the Overreacted Gamer channel. We are going to be breaking down W Series. Welcome to the W Series breakdown. We break down the races and everything that happened this weekend. So, yeah, again, if you can't catch this live, it will be live on a premiere tomorrow on YouTube. This is Sunday at the moment, and it will be live Monday evening around 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you're in the West Coast, that would be 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you are in the East Coast, that would be 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That was Pacific Time, I mean, beforehand, but this is Eastern Time. And if you're in the mountains, well, that's just 1 hour behind, so 4 p.m. Mountain Time. That's all the times in the U.S. Check your time for if you live in England, Europe, anywhere along that just has different hours than what I just said. But let's dive right in. There's so much to talk about, even from the start of practice. Now, I want to get through this. You'll just see my face here for practice because, well, I don't believe that they had at least the times up for practice, but if they did, it was pretty interesting. The top three was completely different than what we saw, but beforehand, we got word from W Series that they would only be allowed 2 sets of tires. So if I had to guess, one set on their car and another one just as a spare set, because they were only having 1 race this weekend instead of 2 races, just like they did at Miami. So it was just none of that. You could cap off a 50-point weekend. It was just a 25-point weekend, and that was it for a win. That was the most points that a winner could score in the weekend. So it was pretty interesting, as well as beforehand got word that W Series was partnering with, I think it was, well, they were partnering with Toyota for a race. Toyota Gazoo Racing to be exact, and Toyota was going to provide them with the F3 cars for the European races instead of their classic Tatis Ligier cars that they have with Alfa Romeo engines. So instead of that, they had the same engines, Toyota racing engines. So it was a little bit of a different car, just a tiny bit. Basically, it was just the engine, but they still had the same horsepower and all of that. And so drivers had to kind of get used to it. Big weekends, I kind of I kind of mentioned this during our pre-race talk about a lot of this with the American Chloe Chambers scoring a point. What was she going to be able to do then moving forward? A lot of drivers coming off with momentum and a lot of drivers that just wanted to forget about that weekend and move on and have a really solid run this weekend in Barcelona, a track that once again a was not a street circuit, was a lot wider, was a lot more of what they call an autodrome, where it just there's space to run wide a bit. But Circuit de Barcelona de Catalunya is very they're smart about their track limits. They don't have a lot of runoff area. If you do run wide, you're most likely in the gravel, in the dirt, or you do hit a rumble strip, not a rumble strip, a sausage curb that can damage the front wing or damage your race car as well. So it was a lot more technical, especially in the final corner. Turn 9 was going to be the toughest corner, as it did show throughout practice and qualifying for these drivers. And, well, in the end, we'll talk about it later, what Chloe Chambers ended up doing right before the finish. And so it's just one of those unlucky situations, you would have to say, for Chambers there. But like I said, we'll get into that talk here a lot later when we talk about the race. Right now, I wanted to talk about, qualifying and what happened during practice, because it was a big change with kind of the lap times, and just was very interesting. So on Friday for free practice 1, it was the WSeries who were out first, or free practice, the WSeries who were out first. Nobody else was out there beforehand with just laying down rubber on that racetrack. The WSeries were the first ones to go out trying to lay down rubber, so it was very much more a green racetrack than what these drivers were definitely used to, especially even in Miami, with them having to go after, I think it was FP1 for the NASCAR for the F1 drivers. So it was definitely a lot different for these ladies to go out there on a green track. First time for these drivers to go out on that racetrack besides the testing, and one of the drivers who ended up missing the test due to a injury, she wasn't cleared yet for the doctors, was Abby Eaton. So Eaton coming into that weekend not necessarily doing a lot of laps in person on that racetrack, like the likes of Juju Noda, like the likes of Bustamante, Chloe Chambers, Jamie Chadwick, and everybody who hadn't necessarily done too many laps, but came out there and was able to join join the test. Of course, there were the Spaniards like Marta Garcia, Belen Garcia, and even Neria Marti, who had done a couple of laps there beforehand due to Formula Regional Europe or something along those lines. I know Belen Garcia, I believe, said that in her interview. You can look back at the last breakdown that we did right before a practice. It was released, my video was released after practice. So it was pretty interesting to see that. Real quick, we'll go to results for the 2022 season and let's see if everything has been updated. Race number 2, Barcelona Round 2, the full results and all sessions results here. So there you go. All session results. In practice, Jamie Chadwick did top the leaderboard in first place, but it was very interesting to see how she would drive the race car throughout the practices. Her best time was a 1:45.517, a very fast lap time from Jamie Chadwick. And it showed that she definitely had speed for the race weekend. It was a matter of How is she going to be able to show her speed? Especially with the tire degradation through the weekend. And it goes back to, I think, what I talked about in the NASCAR podcast that I did, talking about from the Kansas race weekend. When you have a green track like that, it's very difficult on the tires for the first lap because they haven't laid down rubber, so these tires are going to scrub a lot more than if they do. It's a crazy phenomenon, but it actually does make a huge difference just for them to check the tire wear on their tires. So Jamie Chadwick coming out with a 145.517. This was just in practice, so you could tell that she was backing off a little bit because Belen Garcia with a 145.656 in that practice session as well, with Abby Pulling staying firm in third with a 145.805. Knew that she had some speed still left in the tank. Alice Powell with a 145.935 in practice again, with Marta Garcia in fifth place, 146.077. Fabian Fulvin, 146.166 in sixth place in, again, practice. 146.190 put Bruna Tomaselli in that seventh spot, looking forward for that qualifying. And then Jessica Hawkins, same deal, in eighth position, 146.203. A driver definitely to look out for that race, considering coming off of a phenomenal race weekend, getting her first podium in the series, and just showing that she had still a lot to give in this series, but just a little tiny bit. She was off pace, but not off pace by a lot. Just ninth place, or check that, eighth place with a 146.203 was very close to being able to go into the 145s. Of course, it's still 2/10 off of that to break the 146 barrier, so she still knew that she had a little bit of time to gain. Bites Visser in ninth position, like we talked about. Sarah Moore, a driver to look out for, 146.282. And then 11th position, Emily De Hoos with a 146.383. 12th place, Emma Kimalainen, 146.778. 13th place was Juju Noda, 146.810. One of the rookie drivers who already knew that she had a seat locked in for the next year. This is just about her growing as a driver, especially this first year, learning the likes of an F3 and F regional car, Formula regional car, for her just to get better at it, because she has not necessarily been in cars for too long. This would be about her second or third year in cars, so her second year for sure in cars, and it's just something that she, of course, wanted to get used to and get ready to have an opportunity to move forward to the F3 rank, where everybody's next step most likely is. Yes, people say that some of these drivers are already ready for Formula 1, but they don't know how they can run with DRS. They don't know how they can run with a car that has a push to pass or something like that. So there's still time for somebody like the likes of any of these drivers to still gain some more experience in this series. Now we move back down the field. Abby Eaton, 14th position, 146.939. Teresa Babakova, 147.290. 15th place, Chloe Chambers, the American, 16th, 147.305. Then Bianca Bustamante, 147.893. With Neria Marti finding herself last place, 150.286. And her practice was cut short due to just finding the limits, I would say, in free practice. Just pushed the race car a little bit too much, and I believe she was trying to avoid a wreck. I don't know. Either way, went into the gravel trap, got beached, and could not continue. That was her session over. So she had a lot of work to do. A lot of work to just make sure that she, was comfortable in her race car and knew that she would probably have to make a couple of adjustments if they didn't have Parc Fermé during that qualifying session. Which I believe that they do have Parc Fermé, so she couldn't really do too much besides change that brake bias throughout her racing, which is always key. But that's how free practice ended, with times very, very tight indeed, all the way down to 17th of Bustamante. We can't really say anything about Niria Marti because he was just getting it started and just starting to tick down her times on the racetrack. And that was going to be key because, again, as that track rubbers down faster, lap times happen because the car is able to set more and you got more grip, and that's how it works. Viewing the full results now for qualifying. After that practice, qualifying started noonish my time. It was about 7 p.m. local time in Barcelona, I forget the exact location, but in Catalonia, it was around 7 p.m. It was a very, very late start time. Everything was over except for that series. So for the day, Jamie Chadwick, able to top it off right at the end, was saving her tires as best as possible because she knew that she had to use that set for the next race. And this is an interesting qualifying format. It's not like F1 where, F1 you have not only three sessions and you also have a lot more tires. No, you have to conserve this one set of tires. You don't go in after one lap. No, they're staying out for multiple laps because that's how these tires kind of work. They work to really they're really able to bring more life into the tire as the laps kind of go on. It's almost like endurance racing qualifications. You don't see a car after one lap head right into pit lane for those. No, it takes about to lap 3, lap 5 where they start to see the perfect tire temperature in their car, and of course the car gets lighter and lighter with every lap ticked off because, fuel goes away, and so the car gets lighter, therefore lighter and better tire wear equals faster lap times. That's what you're going to see. A lot of drivers try to push a little too early on with the life of their tires, so Abby Pulling could not find a way to get forward in the end of the qualifying. Abby Pulling had a chance for pole, wasn't able to get pole position. Jamie Chadwick ends up getting pole, left it till the end. She talked about it even with her birthday weekend. That was a very, not necessarily a very scary qualifying, but just a little nerve-wracking for her, but she knew that she was able to get it done and did exactly that. So Jamie Chadwick gets pole position. Alice Powell second with a 1:45.280. So you see how close those lap times were. Abby Pulling just managed to get a 1:45.410. So at that point, the master able to beat the apprentice once again. Alice Powell being the race coach of Abby Pulling, and has really helped her out throughout her career, which has been very impressive to watch. Alice Powell, just the relationship of Powell and Pulling kind of come together, as well as, her with Sarah Moore. So Abby Pulling, like we said, got third. Bites Kavisser with a fantastic lap time of 1:45.449. Just misses out on a third position, a second row to be exact. Then Emma Kimalainen bringing the heat in qualifying for fifth with a 1:45.549. Again, very, very close all around them. Belen Garcia with the sixth for qualifying with a 1:45.562. Seventh position, Marta Garcia, 1:45.630. Sarah Moore, eighth with a 1:45.636. And Jessica Hawkins, 145.659. Fabian Volvin, 145.882. This is the top 10 already. Neria Marti, 146.137. 11th. 12th place, Bruna Tomaselli, 146.175. Then Teresa Babakova. I almost screw this name up every single time, but Teresa Babakova finishes with a 146.179 in 13th. 14th was Juju Noda, 146.185. Going down to Emily De Hoos, 146.513. Chloe Chambers, 16th, 146.610. Bianca Bustamante, 147.417. And Abby Eden last place with a 147.517. So bringing it back. I've talked about this before, and I know that this is very apparent even when talking to a couple of drivers, even from, the U.S. or young drivers. Normally, that's where they're racing at, is, the United States. So a lot of their practice comes from simulations and trying to just find the best pace there and learn that track and things of that nature before coming down to it. So it's along the lines of you're definitely playing catch up when it comes down to a lot of these drivers who have been in Europe and have been able to race at tracks along the lines of like Barcelona de Catalunya and other tracks like that are also on this circuit. So I mean, we're coming up to a couple of tracks that are that were on the circuit, that were on the calendar last year too. Like, we'll go back to it. Silverstone coming up as the next race. The Hungaroring coming up as well. La Castellet. So those are three tracks right off the bat that have been on this calendar. Luckily for Chloe Chambers, she was able to race F4 US last season, so she does know circuit of the Americas. It's just kind of the update on the Americans. So she is definitely trying to play catch up throughout this race weekend and a couple of these races. Though scoring the first point last week, we'll see what she can do. Trying to paint a picture for you all of what ended up happening for Saturday's race. Can Bruna Tomaselli get a point, score that 10th position, or something along those lines? Can Jessica Hawkins keep that 8th or even move up to potentially a podium position? Marta Garcia, will she be able to get up there to be at a podium in front of her home fans? Same thing with Belen Garcia. Again, Neria Marti, we checked back with her after a bad practice. She ended up qualifying 11th, which is a good recovery considering, again, lost a lot of track time that she could have been able to gain. It was about 18 minutes left in the session in practice when she had wrecked out, so was able to get back out there, get herself a solid 11th place, which gave her an opportunity to pick up some spots and some points too. So now setting the picture for that going into the news about the race. If you can read that, Jamie Chadwick does end up reigning, as this was the podium. How did we get here? Here's how. Reigning double champion Jamie Chadwick continued the perfect start to the 2022 WSeries season by taking a lights to flag victory in race 3 at the Circuit de Barcelona de Catalunya. I don't know why I keep adding that, but it's Barcelona, Catalunya. The Briton, who celebrated her 24th birthday yesterday, that was Friday, backed up her 2 wins at the season opening doubleheader in Miami. a fortnight ago with a flawless weekend in Spain where she topped all the sessions, led every lap, and recorded the fastest lap in Saturday's race. The 9th victory of Jamie's WSeries career and her 5th in a row sees her extend her lead to the top 10, or to the top of the championship standings, to 37 points with 7 of this season's 10 races remaining. Jamie made a perfect getaway from pole position, expertly controlled her pace from the front and held off a late charge from Abby Pulling, who overtook Alice Powell at the start of the race to beat her compatriot by half a second. Alice, runner-up to Jamie last season, was a further 0.7 seconds back in third place to complete an all-British podium. Abby's second WSeries podium moves her into second place in the championship, 5 points ahead of Alice, who took the 11th podium finish of her WSeries career. Emma Kimmelainen finished 4th, and Bijtskevitser was 5th. Marta Garcia in 6th was the best placed of WSeries. Trio of Spanish drivers competing at their home race in support of the Formula One Pirelli Gran Premio de España 2022. She was closely followed by compatriots Belen Garcia in 7th and Niria Marti in 8th, as Fabian Volvin and Sarah Moore completed the top 10. The only change to the starting grid saw Teresa Babakova start 16th, having received a 3-place grid penalty for causing a collision during the last race in Miami. Using cars supplied by Toyota Gazoo Racing New Zealand TGR-NZ for the first time this weekend, all 18 drivers got away cleanly at the start, and none more so than Jamie, who took full advantage of her pole position to comfortably retain the lead into the first corner. Behind her, Abby overtook Alice for second around the outside on the exit of turn 1, and Emma passed Bijtskevitser for 4th. The top 5 were followed by the 3 Spanish drivers on the grid, with Marta leading that trio and Niria going from 11th to 8th on lap 1, making up more places than any other driver, by the end of which Jamie led by more than 1 second. With a 30-minute plus 1 lap race gone, the top 10 were posting lap times within 0.2 of a second of each other. Abby had cut Jamie's advantage to less than half a second, and Alice was only 0.4 further back in third. But Jamie responded by setting a fastest lap of the race. With 15 minutes remaining, Sarah moved into the top 10 by overtaking Jessica Hawkins at turn 1. The track temperature soared above 45 degrees Celsius, meaning managing their hand-cooked tires became crucial as the drivers entered the final third of the race, when Jamie had eked out a buffer of almost 1 second again. Abby had halved the deficit by the start of the final lap and was urged by her engineer to keep the pressure on during the final circuit. She did just that, but couldn't force a mistake from Jamie, who kept her cool in the sweltering heat to seal victory. The race finished with waved yellow flags as Jamie's teammate Chloe Chambers lost the rear of her car and got stuck in the gravel at turn number 9. TGRNZ is supporting WSeries with the logistics required to get racing cars to F1 races, or to F1 race weekends, in the most sustainable way possible this year. as well as being used by WSeries at the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya this weekend. Toyota's FT60 cars will also be at Suzuka, Japan, in October when WSeries will stage its first race in Asia. WSeries uses identical Tatis chassis to the Toyota Racing Series, but with different engines, and the cars being shipped for the two events retain their Toyota engines. Sharing cars between the two championships helps to manage logistics and enables the use of sea as opposed to air freight, keeping the series' carbon footprint as low as possible. So it's a very cool fun fact there that they will be doing this for one more race up in Japan. Japan being Juju Noda's home race in Suzuka, which that'll be very interesting and very cool to see how Juju Noda will be able to prepare for that race, and will she be able to score a good amount of points too for that race. It's very far in the future, as that's October. We are in the end of May here, so take that into consideration. May, you got June, July, August, September, October. That's 5 months still away. 5 months away from Circuit of the Americas as well for the USGP. And just very, very interesting to talk about and to see what will end up happening in this championship. Will Jamie Chadwick be able to win a lot more races, especially in front of her home fans? Again, 39 days to go. But here's what Jamie Chadwick had to say, as she's now officially 24 years of age, about her race win. It was all about managing the tires in that race, and I managed to do that the whole way. In the last few laps, I got a bit nervy and was struggling when I came under pressure from Abby Pooling. But fortunately, I managed to hold her off, and I'm really happy with the win. Abby Pooling, Race Next 19 UK, said. Here's her take on her second podium. I'm proud of myself after bouncing back from Miami and a bit of a poor qualifying. I started on the front foot here, and big thanks to my team. I had good pace. Couldn't quite get Jamie Chadwick, but it's still a good result for me. I was right behind her on the last lap, and I know that I know what I need to do in the next races to move forward again. Alice Powell, last podium finisher of this race weekend, 29 years of age, said, I knew it was going to be about saving tires. A couple of times I got closer to Abby Pooling, but it wasn't working, so I dropped back a little bit and went again. But as soon as you get close, it gets tougher. I had a brake issue in qualifying yesterday, which was disappointing, and it carried on today when I kept locking up. But it's still solid points, and we move on to the next race at Silverstone. So, I mean, that's kind of, your breakdown from what these drivers had to say. It was very interesting. Highlights, of course, on YouTube, if you want to check them out from WSeries. This article was brought to you by WSeries, probably from their media managing team. So very cool, and a very nice photo there of all three drivers, all three British drivers there, have known each other for a while, and all able to get that victory is Jamie Chadwick. Jamie Chadwick being able to score another win and capped it off big time. We talk about it time and time again, just off of that qualifying run. I know she said it before, kind of even in an interview, sort of. I forget exactly where, but she said it and was saying, Yeah, it was kind of scary, left it to the end, but was still able to do it. I knew that I had to manage my tires there in qualifying and make sure that I had enough for the end to push to get that pole position. That's been her key so far with the success. Not saying that, not starting on podium or pole position won't get you a win, but it definitely helps benefit the bigger opportunity for her to get that victory. She said it her best herself in Miami. She did not deserve that first win. She lucked into it, is kind of what she said, and then in the second race was able to actually perform the way that she wanted to perform to get that victory for herself. So, yes, there is still luck involved with this driver, but right now showing it's all skill, and she's ready to, she's ready for Silverstone. She's ready for that next race victory and opportunity. And again, this time and time again has already shown, get this person a drive, an actual drive, and she deserves it. And there could be a chance, hear me out, that she doesn't end up going into F1. Well, again, stay with me here. That Jamie Chadwick doesn't go into F1, but ends up going to the top flight of IndyCar. It's a very big chance that this could happen. You've had the likes of Pippa Mann make it to the top step, Danica Patrick make it to the top step. Now she has a very successful team owned by, a successful Jenner, literally a successful Jenner, which is, actually I'm not going to butcher it because there's two and I'm thinking of one name and it could be wrong. It could be. So I'm not going to say it, but the backing of that person could definitely help her out in the sense of getting her sponsors and a drive in a top flight. Teams don't seem to want to take a chance on Jamie Chadwick right now to try to get her into a Formula 3 car, FIA Formula 3 car. And it's crazy. So this podium real quick as well. Jamie Chadwick, backed by Williams. Abby Pulling, backed by Alpine. Alice Powell, I think, is also backed by Alpine. Could be wrong, but definitely is able to train with Abby Pulling. I think I'm actually wrong on that, but either way, it was really helped Abby Pulling be able to get that drive. Though Alice Powell is backed by Formula E teams. I think at one point it was Jaguar. I could be completely wrong at that, or it could be I actually forget, Venturi or something like that. Yes, it's very big from these three drivers. But yeah, very, very interesting indeed. Just got to respond to something real quick here. So, like I said, continuing on, it's just, it's very, just will be interesting to see what happens with Jamie Chadwick come summer break and for especially her future, because this is not where she wants to stay. This is not where anybody wants to stay. This is not where W Series wants Jamie Chadwick to stay as well. Jamie Chadwick might be, 3-time champion. Great. But where's your offer from a bigger team? Where's your offer from a team to help her progress? And that is the most frustrating thing about all of this. Either way, such a fun race this weekend. Chloe Chambers, like we read, did end up spinning out at the end of the race on the final lap in turn number 9, where a lot of drivers were about to lose their back end and got tight, and you just run wide on that corner. It's a very, very dangerous corner. Martin Brundle at the start of the race weekend, even for F1, talked about it too. So just something that is crazy to kind of think about. But moving on. Next race, once again, Silverstone. That's going to be exciting. These drivers now have 39 days to kind of rest up and get back to it. So they're going to have a miniature summer break for themselves. The W Series, all 18, technically 19 drivers, will have a bit of a break to get rested, to heal up if they did indeed end up suffering from an injury, which, it can happen. It's common where you don't hear anything about a driver having an injury till after the season. So hopefully, of course, none of that is true, but definitely going to be interesting. Top 3 again: Jamie Chadwick, Abby Pulling, Alice Powell for the top 3. Moving back down. We talked about it all. I guess we can read what Dave Ryan, the racing director of W Series, had said. Firstly, well done to Jamie Chadwick. She drove a really solid race, had really good pace, had a really good weekend, and all credit to her. It's pleasing to see Abby Pulling do such a strong drive to come second. She is going to improve massively throughout the year, and I can see her pushing Jamie all the way. Alice Powell was right up there too, and it was tight at the front. But I think Jamie had it under control. Well, I mean, yeah, she did. That's where Dirty Air played a huge role into why Jamie was able to keep her lead. Because at points, Jamie Chadwick had less than a second advantage, and we're going, you're going on an F1 track. For example, this is where smaller series should at least have pushed to pass, maybe 5 or 4 per race. Now, hear me out on this. On that backstretch, you're 7/10 back, close to half a second back. You in second place are suffering from dirty air. You press that button, you've got an opportunity in the braking zone to pass them. Braking zones are key of how they'll be able to pass drivers. Being able to be alongside them. Yes, of course it's scary, and that's where wrecks can happen. But definitely where passing can play a huge role, play a huge factor into a race. So it was all definitely all in that. Still a phenomenal race for sure. But let's see what else he has to say. There was some good racing throughout the field. It's clear to see that the new drivers just need more time in the car. At a track where everyone else has driven quite a lot, and from their position towards the rear of the grid. You could see they need more miles, which they'll get during the course of the year. We had a different set of cars here from TGR-NZ. They're really good cars, and the guys did a fantastic job. Okay, you sexist person. The crews did a fantastic job preparing them for us, with 5 of their crew here this weekend. Okay, we're going to take a pause, and we're going to reread what he just said. It was a Barcelona de Catalunya during the F1 weekend. We had a different set of cars here from TGR-NZ. They're really good cars, and the guys did a fantastic job preparing them for us. Why don't you just say, and the crews did a fantastic job preparing them for us? With 5 of their crew here. Why didn't you just say that in the first place, dude? This is a all-girls series, and you're sounding like you're sexist because I, for one, know that there's both men and women who work on the race cars, especially in WSeries. You see it with the engineers that literally back the freaking car or tell them to go on that weekend, and they sit there, on the little stools near the pit lane. Let me tell you this. There is women sitting on those chairs, not necessarily as engineers, but they definitely help out. Whatever, that's just my pet peeve of this whole, of what he's saying. Provisional results for the race. Oh, yeah, and then, yeah, that's all he said. Provisional results for the race, yep, can be found here. And highlights of WSeries, if you live in the UK, can be found on Channel 4, 9 p.m. or 9 BST on Sunday, 22nd of May. Or you can find them now on YouTube, everywhere else. I don't know. It was very cool. I will give the track credit for the time that this race was for the main race for the WSeries. They had it early, but in that 30 minutes, you started to see more and more people go into their seats because it was about time for qualifying after that. So by the end of the race, you see that photo right there. It's about 90% full for the main grandstands. So it's pretty cool. So really, not much else to really speak about this weekend. It was very good, very interesting, very close. Abby Pulling did say, even in practice coming to qualifying, I still made so many mistakes that I know that there's a lot more speed left. That was kind of what she, ended up summing up saying, was that there was still pace for her to find, and ended up starting second or starting third, and ended up finishing second over Alice Powell, who started second place. Biggest mover of the day was Nuria Marti. Marti's from España, so this was a big race for her. She ended up crashing out in practice, coming back and qualifying in 11th, and coming back, passing all the way up to 8th position. So good moves from her. Jessica Hawkins, a driver who did very well in Miami, was not able to score any points that race weekend and lost out on a couple of spots, a couple of positions to be exact. So upsetting from her for her performance, but you win some, you lose some. She'll be moving on knowing that, well, it's time for me to practice at my home circuit, which is Silverstone, just trying to get a lot of practice testing in. Again, these drivers, I can't stress this enough, have 39 days till the next race weekend. So I know a couple of drivers definitely will be taking their time, taking some time off Like Sarah Moore posted a very cool picture on Twitter of her. She'll be spending time with her wife in Yorkshire. Well, just spending time with her wife in general. She's from Yorkshire. And being able to go on and celebrate their anniversary. And just very, very cool stuff. I know these drivers definitely, a couple of them will want to just kind of get back to work, stay fit. We'll probably see some streams coming up here soon for a couple of these drivers. I think we will potentially see all three of the Twitch drivers back. And what I mean by the Twitch drivers is we could see some hosted sessions from Alice Powell, with Abby pulling in, Sarah Moore, and maybe even an appearance from Jessica Hawken. But just all the drivers back from maybe like COVID happened. Maybe, of course, a couple of these drivers will be able to have, not only have a vacation, but have an opportunity to run a series that they haven't necessarily been able to run, or go down to a couple of these drivers. They're backed by F1 teams, so maybe they'll get to step in a car as a reserve driver for a race or something like that. Things can happen. That's always key. So like I said, not too much else to talk about. Again, recording this on Sunday live here, so just wanted to say this. The NASCAR All-Star Open is starting, so I think I will end this stream here. I know it's just an hour, end this recording. I know it's just an hour, and then go on and see what else there is. But yeah, I guess thank you all so very much for watching. We'll be back for another, probably another episode. Hopefully we'll try and get some, podcasting creators on this show as well. We'll try to get a couple of drivers. Potentially, maybe we might hit the jackpot and get maybe Aiden Yoder back on, or somehow Abby Pooley and Alice Powell, even the American Chloe Chambers. See you, sir. But yeah, just who knows who we can have on. But once again, I've been Jacob Young. This has been the WSeries breakdown. Well, if you all did enjoy this video, hopefully you all liked it. Breaking down the WSeries from Barcelona. They will, once again, like I said, have a 39-day break. A little bit less than that now as I'm recording this, but it's still going to be a lengthy break for them. They go back racing in Silverstone, so that should be an exciting race once again. I don't believe it's a doubleheader, but when it gets closer and closer to that week, we will break it down once again before and after the weekend. Again, follow me on TikTok, Theoverreactedgamer. Follow me. Subscribe if you'd like to on YouTube, Theoverreactedgamer. Give this a thumbs up if you liked it as well. Always helps out, and it's so much fun to do these things. Hopefully you all really enjoy it. I enjoy making this content and these podcasts. Jacob Young 456 on Twitter. Stay up to date with me as well on all these hot takes and all of the updates from it. Well, thank you all very much for watching once again. Adios.